Welcome everybody to the Poetry Near and Far here at the Oceanside Library. We welcome everybody participating, and we wish a happy Passover and a happy Easter to all who celebrate as we come up. And so without any further ado, Amber Crowtree. You're muted, Amber.
Unmute myself.
There you go.
I wish I had that option when I was a child. Okay. All right. So my poems, I will share 6 poems with you tonight. So my first is titled A Note from a Poet Apprentice. Take me beneath your Icarus wings, advanced before your time, unaffixed, unclaimed, uncaged as can be, preened and weathered, tethered and gleaned. Feather me weightless before all I've known goes extinct. Raise me security into a tool that travels, one for a holster, one for a sheath. Craft them from viable fires and organic leathers. Give me a gift that flies, something to memorize. One word that terrifies, justifies, aches, loves, and leaves. My next poem, a couple of years ago, I began a very different type of day journal. I woke up at 1 a.m. with this very phrase going through my head. And so it became a journal with the title, Somewhere in These Reincarnate Decibels of Light. Your dreams are a breath away from the physical realm, where it rains ice and imprisons the world you know. No matter the theme, you always return to the stage of your childhood home, to rearrange the furniture to suit the message, if any, the dream must reveal. Somewhere in these reincarnate decibels of light, the journey is not complete without gain or loss. The light is at low tide, the decibels in arcs. Photographs are your proven truth, especially behind the eyes. This next poem first appeared in the Sailor's Review, based in South Africa, founded by Tukutzwa Chikepe. He was also a feature poet. The title, and I love him, I recommend reading his and listening to his work. The title is Silences. The quivering of leaves from a pre-storm breeze, the white-tailed deer feeding on grass in the valley, the Pleiades meteor shower, one tinsel at a time, the little brown bat fluttering closely overhead, the golden moon rising above the giant pines, the hummingbirds perching on the nearest point, the funnel spider's web catching a fly and eaten, the saved dragonfly trying its wings, then gliding, the early bird farm kitten smiling like a Buddha. the sleeping content of my loved one beside me, the night dreams that tried to tell me something, the fledgling robin who tried but died open-eyed, the youth garter snake belly up in the wet grass, the final poem from a dying friend not knowing, the moment of a hug from someone who cares, the bumblebee asleep in the dewy face of cosmos, the rosy tipped fingers of dawn before others awake, the first snowfall, virginal like a blank white page, the prayer to the praying that closes one's eyes, the shared glance of eye contact that says it all. This poem first appeared in Tellus Journal. It's an echo journal based in Italy. And their theme they wanted was animals and water. So my title, My Antibody. Lure me, my ocean, my love. Teach me to be whole again. Simple, unafraid, and clean. Forgive my land-bound hopes. Return me to salt and seaweed. Continuous ocean. Notes for the ocean apprentice. The way of the ocean is a timeless dance. To know the ocean, harvest sequins from its surface by way of sight. Its gems are everlasting. Advanced classical movements of kelp at its stronghold defy gravity. Remember that starfish are stars of the sea, and plankton are the whale's survival. Dressed in the recesses of jellyfish, now immune to their stings you glow. Lie with the flex and pull of the tide. From head to toe, feel the moon muscle. Rest with its seals on the mammoth rocks prepare to hear the siren song. Lift from the bay the fishnets of men in search for a mermaid to save them. Barefoot the shore while the sun sinks. Welcome and poem questions. Find a feather, collect sea glass, and periwinkle shells that will spiral you back. My final poem tonight is from that same day journal. I had been housekeeping at an elite boys' school. I really loved my work there. Plus, I took on an extra task, tending to the living laboratory, which mainly contained reptiles. And while the boys and faculty were away. So these animals in captivity were much better company than some of my co-housekeepers who hated these animals. And so they despised me for loving these beautiful animals. Regardless, I was dubbed by faculty as the animal whisperer. Mm. So somewhere in these reincarnate decibels of light, I am entering a new day after a mix of pleasant and disturbing dreams. I'm leery of what my subconscious will pick up today. I will remain mindful, careful, to note beauty, whatever rare-sighted or simplest. The water beads on the anole lizard's throat, the corn snake drinking water, the gentleness of children when patting the bearded dragon. In these reincarnate decibels of light, I must not forget the source of energy and the why and what I am here for. I love you all. Thank you.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Amber. Thank you very, very much. Oh, that was great. Always moving, always very moving. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to move right into to Mindy. Mindy Kronenberg, you're up.
I'm up.
You're
I
up.
am up.
There you go.
I'm up for this. Thank you so much, Tony, and everybody for being here tonight. And thank you, Amber. It was lovely hearing your work. This is a little bit of real estate, the real estate situation on Long Island, and the house that is across from mine that's been empty for 4 years for sale. The sign on the property across the street is angled slightly, firmly pressed into the still green sod of November. The beaming face of a realtor bearing the good news, tilted toward passers-by, and a metallic nod and wind-shuddering wink. Each season, as we roll worn rubber hoses across the yard and pull at scruffy weeds that stink in the rain, yet bloom with fists of tiny white flowers, we wonder if the empty house, its windows wide and worried, the mailbox hollow and aching for a bundle of mail, will ever be filled with life again. Smoke rising from the chimney, flower pots lining the splintered steps, bikes scattered on the driveway, and the music of new voices disappearing behind curtains rustled shut at night, dreams filling rooms that will soon harvest memories. Amnesty. At some point in life, she came to wonder, why not have the right to visit old lovers, to use the bathroom, to check the fridge, to take a nap in the afternoon? Just stop in to watch TV or listen to music, pet the dog or cat, talk to the bird, water the plants, catch up with the neighbors. All the better if no one was home, the familiar rooms silent and stilled by absence, each wall reflecting the light as she knew it, the bedroom door ajar, the covers slightly rumpled, her shadow on the pillow, just as she remembered. Not ready. I was not ready to accept your death, so I let it go for another day. Imagine that as I fed the plants and dusted the shelves, that you were still waiting for your PT session and would then make a final decision on the clothes you would bring to travel north to be with your family. I put the notion of your demise aside as I did my weekend cleaning, adjusting the objet d'art from our excursions, the books we shared, the photos from our trips. I made dinner, thinking that you had just turned up your nose at the pedestrian fare they served you in the facility, that you settled back in bed with your tablet, and that I had time to call you before dark. After all, when the phone rang at 4 a.m., it might have been a dream, a bell breaking the stupor of exhaustion, the break sweat worry searing through slumber. Twilight. When she woke, she was holding her own hand, thinking it was his. With eyes closed, she spoke in a sleepy voice. Sweetheart, we have to get up. We have a busy day ahead. But fatigue held its blurry grip, sand spilling upwards in an hourglass and flapping the coverlet closed and open, folding around them through nights and days. The sheets billowed, tucked, and stripped. His back arched and inching away, the cold pillowcase, the light neither early nor late, the sound of her breath slowing and dwindling into one long whisper, fogging the details of his face. This was written in memory of Tyra Nichols. 3-minute egg. Light the fire or heat the coil, whichever you need to warm the pot. Bring that water to a boil till it swirls and peaks and splashes to the flames. Ball your fist, raise your baton, strike at the first sign of sweat before it shimmers. Gently ladle the eggs into water, your spoon glimmering against the pan, and with your hand, twist the knob to lower the fire. When the eyes glimmer, raise your feet and stomp, first the forehead, then the cheek. Simmer the eggs for 3 minutes. Lift with a slotted spoon and gently bathe under a cold running faucet. Douse the victim in pepper spray, coating the eyes, mouth, and throat. Serve while still warm, the shell unharmed. Leave his body on the ground, no longer able to speak. These next poems were written in response to music, classical pieces that were played in a performance piece I was involved with. We'll be doing it again in the fall at LTV out in Wainscott, where we had an Argentinian pianist, Axel Quinque, and this piece was in response to Rachmaninoff, Prelude No. 7. And it was an interesting experience trying to summon things from this music. Murmuration. How is it birds twist and billow into a swollen net against the clouds, a vortex of dark wings into light? This magic lace, a dancing dream catcher, tattered by wind, but healed in flight. They spin like desire escaping grief, love spiraling into hope, the heart shattered and made whole again. And this was summoned by Chopin Prelude 17, a memory from my childhood that just somehow came to the surface. Sunday. 13th Avenue in Borough Park came alive in the morning as my father and I walked the rows of stores for our Sunday morning feast, a sepia memory in filtered light, as I leapt at each window to his approving laughter, our bundles growing with baked goods, cheeses, meats, and flowers for our table. There she is, the small girl skipping along the many Brooklyn blocks, her hand in his. There he is, as he whistled and kept his boisterous stride, walking back to the awakened building, walking up to the tiny kitchen, walking through the doorway lit by the delight in my mother's eyes. Now, this was in response to Beethoven, Tempest Sonata, third movement. And it just seemed to be a churning of something. And maybe we've all experienced this. There were times when the words would flow out of us for our poems, and sometimes not too much. A loss for words. Where do the words go? Those that once swirled in gossamer light and landed on the page in effortless reverie. What happened to the fevered scribblings seeded by rhapsodic spirals unfurled in the mind? I long for the sprites who whispered on command, sending bon mot to float and unfurl on my tongue. Why does language elude me, sweeping in and past my grasp? Those rascals of old wit, the prima donna phrases trotting out their purpled parlance. The wind carries fewer and fewer these days, dangled debris caught in a dying tempest. My restlessness and inner thesaurus tangled in a fight to find them, on the wind, fading among tattered butterfly wings, rusted flower petals, the unfinished poems that curl at their edges. How am I doing on time, Tony?
You're fine.
I'm fine. Okay. 3 more. These next 2 were in another ekphrastic exercise, this time inspired by sculpture in a project that I curated for the Center for Environmental Education and Discovery in Bellport, where there were sculptures strewn about a trail in the woods, and each poet had to pick 2 sculptures to write about. And this was by, after a sculpture by Rocio Snyder. I called it Proud, P-R-O-W-D, double meaning here, part the prow of a ship and also the sense of pride. Proud. Sister, when did I become a totem in the woods? Was it from a spell that tethered me to tree bark, something that kept me motionless as Ariella imprisoned in a trunk? How is it that my dreams swell with the cry of orcas and the pungent sting of sea spray? I have wept as one whose spirit is shipwrecked, aground on gritty loam, no longer fertile, or free to seek crystalline waves that unfurl on glittering shorelines, awakened in bright foam. And this is called Portal, that was after a sculpture by J. Sylvester, which was an enormous circular sculpture made of twigs and parts of trees. and it hung so that light came through it. Portal. Even as a girl, I felt it walking in the woods. My heart an abundant basket, my limbs reaching and embracing at once. This kinship of trees, the transcendence of sadness and solitary longing in the rustle and ruckus of dancing branches. The portal to my higher self is suspended between shadows and dappled light. Amalgam of nymph and gorgon, where even time petrifies, beckons memory woven into song, buoyant yet subliminal, the percussion of footfalls giving way to whispers, rising from roots to float mid-air, a mime of frozen, sinuous vines. And I'll end with this one for my nephew, who is now pushing 30, but was very young and gave me an important reminder when he was just a very young kid. Jelly bean breakfast. When you were 6, you got up early one morning to make yourself a jelly bean breakfast. A bright bowl of colorful stones shining in a circle of milk. I was lurching toward the table in my adult fog, considering the cereals that beckoned reason, practical grain pellets, stodgy pillows of shredded wheat, brown flakes wilting under the weight of minerals. Your face beamed, tiny teeth glittering in a proud grin. You lifted a spoonful of rainbow like a proud chef, and in a flash, I dreamed of the world you would one day be in, where lullabies faded into stern admonitions, the joyful improvised dance giving way to a modest smile over folded arms. And I joined you in your culinary escapade. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful, Mindy. Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
If you would unmute yourselves, let's give both of our wonderful poets tonight a nice round of applause.
Hooray! Well done. Well done.
All right.
It's beautiful.
That was beautiful. Very beautiful.
Okay. So now,
Beautiful.
great. So now we're going to enter into our open mic. I think everybody is in. I didn't see anybody opt out. So what we'll do is I will call on one person and then tell the next person who's on deck. So we're going to start with Carol Finkel. You're up, and Ida Renyon, you're on deck.
Okay.
What? Where are you? There we are.
Okay, here I am. How much do I miss you? I think of you often, but that's not a measure of time. I think of you when I'm sad, because you always gave me comfort. I think of you when there is birth in the family, because I know how you rejoiced at the sight of a baby. I don't know what the clapping is. It's a funny sound in the background. I think of you when I look back at pictures, because you shared in so many activities and it was always caught on film. I think of you for each holiday, because you loved when we were all together to celebrate. I think of you when we prepare food, since a good part of the menu is based on your recipes. I think of you when I speak to my daughter-in-law and granddaughter-in-law, because I love the way you treated me. I think of you when Florida is mentioned, because once you moved there, it became a destination. I think of you when I think of you when I am with my grandchildren, because you are the kind of grandma they look forward to being with. Soon I will be a great grandma, and you also even in your later years, did that well. How much do I miss you? I miss you as much as I miss my own parents. I miss you with the same admiration, respect, and love. The end.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Okay, Adarenian, you're up, and Emily Sue, you're on deck. Okay. Adarenian. Nope. You there? Okay. We'll circle back to you. Emily Sue, you're up, and Ann Cohn, you're on deck.
Okay, hi, everybody. I'd like to read one from my book, which is called We Are Beach Glass. The poem is April in Glen Cove, back when I was young. At the first hint of spring, I brushed cobwebs from my bike, walked it a half mile or so to the nearest gas station, filled the tires with air, free for the taking. I pedaled back past my street around the corner to meet a friend. Together we set out on a familiar route, muscles and lungs pumping up hills, through modest, tidy neighborhoods, flying down, legs kicked straight out beyond the pedals, past wrought iron gates protecting long driveways, winding their way to stately homes. A warm breeze brushed our faces, tangled our long, straightened teenager hair, no helmets to tame it. We stopped, breathless, at the end of Red Spring Lane, where the Long Island Sound lapped the Glen Cove coastline. Private beach, the sign read. Who cares? The shorelines are public. A man and his dog appeared. He waved, we waved, relieved he didn't shoo us off. His dog raised a head, ears back, tail held high. We walked the rocky beach where the tide had drawn a line in the sand, seaweed marking that winter's incursion. April's icy receding waters nipped at our bare feet. We chatted on, casually scouting for Indian paint pots, arrowheads, shells. When the sun tilted its rays sideways, it pocketed the day's warmth. Sand-filled socks and sneakers propelled us home. Beach treasures safely tucked into saddlebags. Just as dusk descended, we parted ways, legs trembling from exhaustion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Ann, you're up, and Chris, you're on deck.
All right. Oh, with great poetry tonight. So glad I came in. I saw the Andrea Bocelli movie last night, The Journey. Absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to read a poem about Rome. This is called Romulus and Remus. Have you heard of Romulus and Remus? Sibling rivalry in extremis. Let the grisly tale begin, how jealousy led to murdered kin. Fathered and abandoned by Mars, must have left emotional scars. A she-wolf serving as surrogate mother would mess with the mind of anyone's brother. All appeared well at first glance, but Romulus had his plans to advance. The twins fought for a place to call home amongst the 7 hills of Rome. Romulus waited to strike Remus flat. Hence, Rome was born, and that was that.
Wonderful as always. Thank you, Ann. All right, Chris, you're up, and Robert Dean, you're on deck.
Hello, everybody. Can anyone hear me?
We can all hear you. Yep, we're good.
Okay. So I'm in the library. Some of you heard it, some of you haven't heard it. It's called Train Conductor. A weary train conductor swaggered slowly from the first rail car and across the platform with his head down, wearing his black visor shades, and he's fully uniformed under his black puffer coat, wearing a black tote bag with his left hand, black backpack on his back, and a cigarette in between his right index and middle finger. As he took the last drag, that one passive puff created a mini cloud until that madman walked right towards it. His face split the cloud in two, and it ran across his cheekbone as he slammed the cigarette on the ground before he enters the Hempstead train station. And I walked over to the remains, and for the first time, and for the 1,000th time of my whole existence, I've witnessed death. The only thing alive was the unburnt tobacco. The butt has been squashed on the concrete, the paper in the filter buried in ancient dirt, tobacco ashes smeared away. He must have worked all night collecting tickets from drunk fans in their Mets and Yankee jerseys. But where were the Knicks fans at? Train conductor. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for gracing the library. Appreciate it. You're glad you're there. I'm not, but we'll catch up with you. We'll make sure it happens. Okay,
No
so
problem.
Robert Dean, you're up, and Christine, you're on deck.
Okay, I'm gonna read one that was published in last year's Word Fest anthology, produced by the Waco Cultural Arts Fest. If I can get my view adjusted here. And the poem is called From Where I'm Standing. God moves in the ashes at my feet, a mirage of myself. I breathe deep, wonder why it took me 6 days of words, when I could have just snapped my fingers, big banged the whole damn thing into existence. The wind sucks thought from me, tosses singed confetti into Michelangelo's vault. Adam's finger not quite touches God. And we shall make man in our own image, I hear myself say from the high places, and we shall give him mastery. Around me, Yellowstone burns, Venice sinks. Words buzz in my head like bees in the carcass of Samson's ruptured lion. I crack my jaw wide as heaven, forfeit responsibility for this speaking to the wind. Over the land, a hush comes. Water weeps upwards. I rub thumb and middle finger, no snap. The wind throws caution back at me. I pick up my rod and my staff. Sorrow, thorns, and thistles, the sweat of my brow. Feed my sheep, I say, beating back the flames. The beginning is still beginning. I move upon the face of the waters. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. Heck of a night we have here. Christine, you're up, and Ro, you're on deck.
There
Up.
is beauty in. Am
Go.
I okay? Yeah.
Yep, now you go.
There is
Sorry.
beauty in dying. In the dying, the skin transforms, turns translucent like luminous wax. The breath slows down, yet fights to inhale the oxygen that fuels our body cells, powers our brains, and moves our muscles. Even as my grandmother's ability to live declined, she continued to exist in the elements of the air. Her body curled on its side in dying as her physical movements sped up to gasp oxygen with a rasping sound from the back of her throat. Then her hands clawed the wall for escape or to fight suffocation from whatever power tried to take her from this unfinished world. I watched her struggle for mercy, for a way out from this earth, but death did not make it easy. I left the minding for a few moments to rinse my hands, to let the cold water spill down my face. When I returned, she was gone. Her gift to me, her gentle passing, slipping like the coolness of silk ribbons floating through my fingers. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Christine. Okay, Ro, you're up, and Mark, you're on deck.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody. Loving every minute of it. This I wrote on November 9, 2015. Now looking back, it sounds a little juvenile, but that's okay. It's called My POA, which stands for Plan of Action for a Better World. To make this a world, to make this world a better place, first I will die. Oh, please, though my enemies might think and like this. Here, the implication is not that this world would be better off without me. Far from it, haha. Here is the rest of the plan. I will reincarnate as an empress, and the world will be my oystress. No, you silly, I won't eat it, but will straighten it out. How, you ask? Use your imagination, my friend. As a powerful person, first, I will order total silence across the land, and then one by one, only reintroduce non-intrusive and pleasant sounds. Simon and Garfunkel's, as will Bach and Mozart's music and the like, will be back. Babies' gurgles allowed, as will their giggles and laughter, children's playground cadences, spoken word, the birds' tweets, and all other sounds of nature. Boom boxes and booming speakers, heavy metal and cacophony pretending to be music will be out, particularly in the gym and at parties. Other than concert halls or the beaches or parks, all other public places will be silence-only zones. See how just a few simple decrees will put this world back on track? Planet Earth with just the right level and right kind of sounds in the right places, which do not border on noise, will be the surefire way for this world to shine. But first, you need an empress, and I'll gladly be her.
Thank you, Ro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, you're up, and Doreen, you're on deck.
All right. Thank you, Tony. And it has been a wonderful evening. Thank you, everyone. Working in the dark. It's the day shift. All the lights are on. Computers and mouths are running, but it feels so strange. So eerily, slimy, and gooey kind of strange. It's not easy working in the dark when you don't know why all the supervisor's doors are closed and the air is as tense as the final second before all hell breaks loose in some bar fight, except there's no final seconds, just more humming silence and nervous chatter behind cubicle walls. The bosses are on our backs too much to simply pull a mass disappearing act, scurrying like cockroaches when the light comes on for the safety of a crack underneath their office doors. The door you tried to knock on earlier, by the way, and was told, "I'm in a meeting." But you don't remember the door opening all day. It's now 3 p.m. No boss has been cited since the janitorial service supervisor called at closing time yesterday. Something has to be going on. Something is wrong. The lights are on, but they're working in the dark. Fumbling through our apprehension and guessing we're hitting the right keys on the keyboards, thinking about Armageddon and the unemployment office, being downsized and frisked for weapons by the off-duty cop hired to escort the terminated down from the building. It is the day shift. All the lights are on. Computers and mouths are running, but it feels so strange. It is not easy for us to work in the dark.
Thank you very much. All right. What a wonderful evening. Thank you, Mark. Doreen, you're up, and JR, you're on deck.
So thank you, Tony. Oh God, this has been, I just realized why this evening is so special. It's April, it's Poetry Month. And Amber and Mindy, you really started us off beautifully, and what an open mic, my God. So since it is April, I'm going to read you this little April Fool poem. Only a fool would expect spring weather, an April fool who longs for imagined perfection, a poetic fool who paints spring with words, dreams a child's dream, sun glinting in her hair, every beam creating magic, stars of sunshine casting the world in gold, car windows and green leaves, sidewalk mica and found pennies, shade and shadow play in alleyways, breezes move branches in sensual promise. Time slows down while children race. Laughter punctuates, tickles the ear. Summer freedom teases. Life looks different in April, sounds different, is. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, JR, you're up, and Margaret, you're on deck.
Super. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Mindy. Wonderful. Love in the open mic too. So I'm still celebrating Dog Speak, and one poem tonight. So that means Tony gets to pick a number. Poetry roulette from 1 to 24, and that's what I'll read.
19.
19. I don't have them memorized yet, but I know I love it. Okay. Mommy and me. I wink at mommy and she winks back. She thinks there's a code. I tilt my head left. She tilts hers left. I think she thinks I see something she doesn't. I stare at the ceiling without blinking. She stares. Ha ha, I made her look. I give her a schedule every day. Let me out, let me in, feed me, kisses, belly rubs, repeat. I slobber windows, doors, and mirrors all over the house. She likes my snot art. I give her security, friendship, and unconditional permission. Some days she only talks to me. I stare at her while she eats. She feels guilty and gives me some, even though I just ate. Mommy and me, it was easy. I had her at Wolf. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Margaret, you're up, and then Larry McCoy is going to bring us home.
Thanks to our features, I really enjoyed it, and everybody in the open mic. This one's called Disconnection. Your face is just a memory, Elizabeth Todris. The website once his page, a business card for the world, carried this man's name with a .com after. His proud logos, F/M and Montauk displayed on it. This space captured photos of his artwork, collages with writings. It had his bio of education, TV and film experience, growing up in New York. His contact info, a tiny tab in a corner. A handsome photo in lavender, his eyes shaded behind sunglasses, hair hidden under a baseball cap. Behind him, vibrant green grass, his backdrop. Only a GoDaddy ad now. I can claim this domain mine. It won't bring him back. Memories fill in spaces of what was. Acceptance is a long road without scenery. When the one you craved in this lifetime is gone, I mourn for him because to grieve for a website isn't practical. This shutdown stamps his life an expiration date, feeling final and empty.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. It's been a wonderful evening. And now we're going to bring on the heavy hitter. Larry McCoy, bring us on home.
You want me to spoil it, don't you? I was going to read something else, but since this is writers, a couple of people heard me read this yesterday. I made a living for 45 years writing and editing news copy or supervising those who did. I used to think the hardest thing to write was a national weather summary because the source information way back when at UPI was so vague. I was wrong, so wrong. The hardest thing to write is the copy for the back cover of a book you have written. I've had 3 books published since I left the news business. On March 21st, I signed a contract for a 4th book. I should have married my world history teacher, Confessions of a Hoosier Class Clown. I have spent nearly every day since then trying to write the copy for the damn back cover of the damn book. It's amazing. You spend 2 years or more writing and rewriting a manuscript. And then when you have to tell people what it's about, you draw a blank, lots of blanks. Here are 5 ideas of what a writer should put on the back cover. Just these words, nothing else. 1, if you want to know what the book is about, buy the damn thing. 2, to be honest, this probably is not the kind of book you pick up and can't put down. 3, not yet banned in Florida. 4, please. 5, it's a bargain. 14 new sexual positions in only $19.95. That's it. May your sales be brisk.
Thank you as always. All right, everybody, had a wonderful evening. Thank you so much to our features. Amber and Mindy, you did very well. I mean, it was really a lot of fun, and open mic was a delight tonight. So I wish everybody a happy Passover, a happy Easter, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I love you. All of you.
Thank you, Tony.